Y'all want to know a fun fact about me? I was actually born in 1994 on the day of the finals of the FIFA World Cup. In honor of this year's World Cup, with the US being one of the three hosts, I am wearing a real soccer jersey from Italy. It's actually from the team called Juventus. However, Italy did not qualify for this year's World Cup, but hey, it's a jersey, so it is what it is. But back to my birth story, my doctor, apparently, according to my mom and my grandma, was rushing my mom to have me because the finals were going on and he wanted to go and see the games. And actually, in 1994, the World Cup was actually hosted by the US. In that game, Brazil beat Italy 3-2. So glad I can represent Italy here, even though they were not in the winning team and they did not qualify this year. Fast forward to now, 2026, where we have the biggest World Cup we've ever had. There's three hosts this year. One is, of course, the US, one is Canada, and one is Mexico. So it's a very North American affair happening here. And as with anything in North America, while we have the positives, there's also a lot of tension and scandals that we definitely will be diving into in today's episode. If you know anything about the FIFA organization, it's that there's going to be some scandals. And so far, there's been scandals around the price gouging of the tickets, political scandals across different countries, and also some fun global parties happening too. So let's dive right in. Welcome back to another episode of Lush Life, No Labels. I'm your host, Fatu. If you're a returner, welcome back. If you are new here, hello. This really is a podcast for people who are curious, who want to learn new things, because I talk across different topics: career, finance, pop culture, and a lot of global topics as well. So, if you want to listen to a podcast where someone breaks things down for you in a way that actually makes sense, then this is the podcast for you. Hit that follow button to keep up with my upcoming episodes. So, it is the time of FIFA. Most of the world, of course, calls this sport football, but in America, as with a number of other things like the metric system, we call it soccer. So, growing up, I used to watch soccer all the time. I grew up in West Africa where soccer is a huge sport, is the biggest sport, honestly, outside of the US. I would see people playing just in the streets. I would watch my uncles go play. It was just a sport that people did anywhere and everywhere. You did not need to have money to play. You really just needed a soccer ball. In the past few years, I have been watching a lot of soccer. I've been going to a lot of soccer games. I've actually even gone to my first professional soccer game for the team that represents my state, Massachusetts, called the Revolution. And it's really exciting to have people from different countries just being here. Especially, honestly, if you're from the US, we've been going through it. So I feel like we've been having a giant party. And I'm excited to talk to you guys about that today. So I have some quick facts for you guys about the FIFA World Cup this year. It's across 11 US cities, including my town of Boston. And as I mentioned, also cities in Canada and in Mexico. All of these places actually include fan fests. They have a bunch of free events where you can go if you can't afford the games, which a lot of us cannot. I will get to that later. The other thing that makes it exciting this year, if you're in the US, is that we are celebrating our 250th year of being a country since we revolted against England. It's going to be really interesting, actually, to see all of these foreigners being in the US at this time, especially with all the political drama that's been going on, and them really seeing the patriotism of the people of this country. So, I have a bunch of facts for you guys about the FIFA organization before we dive into some of the juicy messes that have been happening. I have my notes right here. FIFA stands for the Fédération Internationale de Football Association, FIFA. It was actually started in 1904 by 7 nations: Belgium, Denmark, France, Netherlands, Spain, and Switzerland. So basically the Europeans. And their goal was to, quote, promote the game, to, quote, foster friendly relations amongst all of these nations by promoting matches around the world. As I mentioned, of course, this is the most popular sport in the entire world because essentially in every single country, someone is playing this sport, okay? I know in the US it's not our biggest sport, but whatever. It is what it is. And actually, fun fact, in 2014, where the World Cup was held in Brazil, it was the most broadcast show on the planet because it was showed in over 200 countries. To me, that's crazy. So essentially, what FIFA does is to govern all facets of these games. They regulate the way that players play, they oversee any international transfer of players. And of course, they organize this global World Cup every 4 years. The first World Cup actually was in 1930 in Uruguay, and it only had 13 teams. Uruguay actually beat Argentina 4-2. Now we've grown from initially 13 teams to this year, there are 48 teams playing. And that is 104 matches in total from the beginning to the finals, which will be held at MetLife Stadium in New Jersey. Basically, the winning team has to win a total of 8 matches. There are a bunch of point systems that happen. I'm not going to go through it right now, but you get the gist. In terms of the teams that have the most wins, Brazil has won 5 times. Last one was in 2002. Germany and Italy have both won 4 times. Yay, Italy, Juventus. Argentina has won 3 times. They actually were also the defending champions in the last World Cup. So right now, Messi and everybody are trying to get 2 in a row. If you are not a FIFA fan or a soccer fan, you definitely know some of the other pop culture entertainment around it, notably the songs that are released around this time. I think the one that's been the most popular in recent years is Waka Waka, sang by Shakira, who is Colombian. And she took that song from, I believe it's a South African song, actually. You know, in case you didn't know that, she did not originally write that song at all. She pretty much copied it, but she did popularize it. She did include people from the country in it. Shakira is basically our Colombian World Cup queen. This year, she also has a song, this time with Burna Boy, a very popular Nigerian artist. I've seen him in concert. He's pretty enthusiastic, which is good. Enough of all that. Let's dive into the mess. All right. So FIFA has been having scandals basically the whole time. And I don't think anybody's surprised by this, including bribery, buying votes in terms of which teams will win, and just some sketchy finances going on. That has not changed right now. Even in 2015, there were a number of arrests by the US DOJ for officials in FIFA. They indicted, I believe, 14 officials who were indicted for wire fraud, money laundering, bribery, racketeering, you know, all the fun white collar crimes that people be doing. And the most recent one as well, in 2022, there were a number of controversies with the host nation, actually, which was Qatar. A lot of people around the world condemned Qatar because they use migrants as like slave labor. Basically, it's in the desert, so people were just working and dying in the heat. So there was a lot going on there, and this year is certainly continuing that theme, okay? Especially in the US, because one thing the US is going to do is be controversial. All right. And let me just say something. This is not a political podcast, but FIFA's annoying because they created out of thin air an award this year called the FIFA Peace Prize. I don't know how you can get peace through that. I feel like it's just people are playing cordially. That's peace enough. And it went to the President of the United States of America. I'm not really sure what type of peace this person brought to, well, the world, obviously, but also specifically soccer. I don't even think this man has ever seen a football game in his life, but I digress. It's so crazy. It's so crazy. I cannot get over that. And that's the start of our US controversies. Okay. One of the things that a lot of people have been talking about this year are the ticket prices, because this is the most expensive World Cup ever. And the prices are just astronomical. Many people have not been able to get tickets. Actually, if you've seen some of these games, especially the early ones, you will see a lot of empty seats in these stadiums because no one can afford to go. People who are traveling from abroad, they generally will have the money to fly over to North America. They will have the money to stay in hotels for 3 weeks, 4 weeks, whatever it may be. So they're pretty privileged. However, if you're someone who lives in one of these host cities, you might not even get the opportunity to go when this thing is in your country, which I think is pretty sad. Outside of that, there's also controversy around transportation. I'll speak to what's going on in Boston. So they increased the train prices to go to that stadium. Typically, the train is not even $5 one way. However, now it is $80 each way to go and come back. So you're spending $160 total. If you decide that you want to drive, the parking is $175. So a lot of people who have free parking spaces or whatever, they're actually charging less than $150, $160 for people to park there. So at least they get some money out of it, but it's kind of ridiculous that parking has just been increasing. It's not even that expensive during Patriots games, whatever. Anyways, the other thing is that the countries actually don't even get any money from the ticket sales. All of that goes to FIFA. So it's not to say that, oh, the US government is the one who made these prices this way. No. FIFA, the organization, is the one who essentially increased all these prices. So they're to blame for this, honestly, because they're going to get all the benefits and all the revenue from these ticket sales. Another thing, I didn't know this before, but in comparison, Russia hosted the World Cup in 2018, and y'all, they had free transportation across the 11 cities that the World Cup was hosted in their country. They also had a visa-free entry into the country for people who wanted to watch these games. Unlike the US, who has denied visas for fans from several countries, notably, for example, Senegal, Somalia. I'm not going to say it, but I'm sure you can see there's a pattern there of countries that are banned. Even the referee from Somalia, who won like the top referee award last year for FIFA, could not enter the US, even though he actually had an approved visa, all because of the bigotry of this country. So say what you will about countries like Russia or whatever it may be, but let's not act like countries like the US are also not mistreating people. It's trying to wrap up all these cost things. The other thing too is that hotels are complaining because they've also increased their costs per night. And it's like, I'm sorry, that's none of my business. Why would you increase it? You already know so many people are coming here because you're greedy. Now you aren't even going to make as much money as you had anticipated. So, folks, that is one of the themes of today's episode. FIFA equals greed for so many different types of people. Let's jump into some of the political controversies. I already mentioned visas being denied for people from certain countries. But fun fact, the US is in many wars right now. I'm sure everybody in the world knows this. In specifically the war with Iran, which was started by the US government, where they attacked Iran. And now there's this whole war going on. The Strait of Hormuz is closed. All of our fuel prices have gone up. That's an episode for another day. But the specific thing is that Team Iran is in this World Cup. They initially were supposed to be staying in San Diego in Southern California, and because all of their games are at the stadium there. But due to this war that again they did not start, the president of the US said no, they cannot stay here. Luckily, there are other countries who are way better and nicer than the US. So the president of Mexico actually said, "We will welcome you guys here." What they're having to do is stay right across the border in Mexico. And then whenever they have games, they need to drive over the border, play the games, and then drive over the border back because this president will not let them stay on US soil. So tell me why this person won a FIFA Peace Award when he does not even promote any peace during this time when his country is promoting this. All right, let me stop. Let me stop. All right. It's just annoying. It's just annoying. But don't worry, guys. There's going to be some fun in this. But another controversy that's been going on, specifically in the US, of course, is the introduction this year of something called hydration breaks. This has never happened before in FIFA games. I don't know if it's like every 5 minutes, every 10 minutes. Everyone has to get a break for 3 minutes. Why? Because in the US, we are very capitalistic and money, money, money. If you're in the US watching it on Fox Sports or whatever it is, then there are advertisements for 3 minutes. It's basically like the American Super Bowl because it's all about the money. If you actually have Peacock or you watch Telemundo, then you will see that for the games hosted in Mexico, there are zero hydration breaks. You do not need to be bombarded with all these advertisements for all these things that they want you to spend money on. So that's something else that's different. And I'm assuming also in Canada, there are no hydration breaks like that. These are some of the things that a lot of people have been complaining about in terms of things that have been different, things that have just been increasing tension, and things that they wish were different. However, with so much drama, what is the point of being a host? Well, there's actually a lot of benefits. Like I said, it's the most popular sport in the world. So countries do make a lot of money from tourism. They make a lot of money from obviously people coming to their country, spending that money. Billions of people watch this game and billions of people learn more about your specific country. For context, in 2022, 5 billion people tuned into the World Cup versus in 2022, we had 2 billion people tuning into the Olympics. It shows you the comparison between something like the Olympics, which is also global, to this. And then this year, FIFA is actually estimating that 10 million people will travel and 6 billion people will tune in. So there's a lot of short economic boom for these countries in terms of the flights, hotels, shopping, everything like that. Global visibility also leads to long-term tourism and foreign investment. For me personally, is that it's really a huge time for the entire world to have a cultural exchange. It's very rare. Well, I guess every 4 years, for example, but it is kind of rare for a lot of these people to be in the same place at the same time, being in countries they've never visited before, and just getting exposure to a lot of people and cultures that they may not have exposure to, that they may not know much about. There's Fan Fest, like I said, being held in the host cities. Even if you're not a host city, I would recommend just checking out different places. Your town or city will probably have something for you to go and watch these games with your fellow humans. Outside of the shared cultural experience, some people actually decide to volunteer. The Scottish people, heart to Scotland actually as a Bostonian, because they have made our month, our summer, our year, because Scotland actually was located in the US and they've had a number of their games here. And the people of Scotland, I don't even know if there's anybody left in that country, but they all were here. They're partying with us. They're nice. They actually even raise money for the Boston Children's Hospital here just because. Just because. I don't know. I think that's a nice thing. There was no reason for them to do it, but I think it's just a time for people to have joy that we haven't had in a long time, especially if you live in the US. Despite all the political drama, I know that the US is a melting pot. We have millions of people from all over the world, which is so interesting that we have all these countries here because I've been seeing all these videos and people just mentioning, oh, I didn't know that there was a large population of people from Bosnia in like Milwaukee or something. It's just really, really interesting seeing like, oh wow, I didn't know that these countries were here, but I'm not surprised because again, this is a place where people come to this country. There are a lot of immigrant populations. I don't care what anybody says about that. That is the truth. And you're able to really see that beauty here in the US during this time. So for me, it feels like a global reunion. We are obviously competing nations. However, it's just nice. Another thing that I really like about this is that small countries like Cabo Verde and Curacao, I've actually been to Curacao, beautiful country. This is their first time in the games. They've been doing so well. Everyone's rooting for, obviously, people like to root for the underdog. And I'm happy that it doesn't matter what size country you are, you still can get the opportunity to come to these games and to represent your country. Oh, actually, since I mentioned that, the players of these teams are not paid to play in the World Cup specifically. So typically, how soccer works is there are club teams in the countries and they are paid by the club. And then for the World Cup, the country and the clubs, they will decide who are our best players, who we want to represent us. For the players, it's a volunteer opportunity to really represent their country. Obviously, they can also get exposure and sponsorships out of this, but they are not being paid for the time that they are spending in these like month and a half at the World Cup. Having the World Cup here in America is great too, because this is not a popular sport. However, more and more people are now tuning in and getting into it. I suspect that after this, we'll definitely have a lot more Americans tuning into global games and into these club games. And I'm really curious to see how that goes in the future. Like I said, there's so much excitement. The Scottish people, the Haitians in Boston just dancing together. We have the people of Kansas City are cheering for Algeria and welcoming them. There's singing, dancing, music in the streets. Actually, another hilarious thing is foreigners coming to the US, because I know that there's a lot of perceptions about the US. This is the time for people to dispel it or to learn more. So it's so funny. I've been watching videos of foreigners going to Walmart superstores and picking up gallons of milk, being like, oh my God, this is so big. Because, for example, in Europe, they do not have gallons. But everything is big in America. And a lot of ingredients in the US are actually banned in other countries / in Europe. So it's really interesting having them be excited about going to Golden Corral, going to Applebee's, because I mean, that's not our top, things, but it is so funny to me. Because I don't know if you've ever heard of like the freshman 15, but I'm pretty sure that all these foreigners are about to get the US 50. And when they go back over there, I don't know. They're going to definitely be gaining some weight from here, but I'm excited and I'm glad that people can at least enjoy it and just see like this is how we live, normally speaking. So it's not all bad in the US, people. I'm glad you guys are getting exposure to that. The other thing, too, that's happening this year is the US is celebrating its 250th birthday. And actually, my next episode will be on that. So make sure you tune in. But that's really exciting because in America, that is our most patriotic day. We have fireworks, we have barbecues, we have music, dancing. People are dressing up in red, white, and blue. And having other countries here, they're here obviously to represent their nations and to cheer for their nations. So there's already a lot of patriotism happening. Add that on to the US patriotism. I am very curious to see what's going to happen next week with the 250th year, but I'm happy that we have our global cousins here to celebrate this with us. And I know this is not the beginning of world peace, but it is still nice and enduring. If you've been in the US, especially if you're not bigoted, we've been going through it. We've been going through it and we've been feeling more and more isolated as a country due to the political drama that's going on. And it's nice being around other people from other countries, just hanging out with us. So whether you love America, whether you question America, or whether you're curious about America, this World Cup will definitely show you something about this country. Whether you watch soccer or not, I encourage you to check out your town's fan fests, watch parties, and good luck to all the teams. Let me know in the comments. Do you think FIFA has learned anything from its past scandals? Also, be honest. How do you think the world is really reacting to the US being a host this year? I'll wrap it up there. Thanks for listening to another episode of this here podcast, Lush Life No Labels. Follow me for more content. Cheers to your lush life and see you later.